Black Power family. This is Jade Arrindell, aka Lioness Crowns. I'm your revolutionary, unapologetically Black African host right here at FlyNubianQueen.com, the network for melanated women like you. I wanted to check in with y'all to see how y'all are doing amid this crisis. We have a crisis going on. If you could just take a moment to like and share this video while I light some incense, because we have a lot to talk about today, and I need to get rid of this energy that's in here or surrounding this virus. All right, so if this is your first time tuning in, welcome to Fly Nubian Queen. I'm Jade Arrindell, and make sure you're in touch with us. Join our text messaging list. Make sure you text the word Queens to 31996. That's Queens to 31996. As you're coming in, let me know how you're doing. Shout out your city. Let me know what's going on in your part of town. All right, so this broadcast is full of like a lot of different notes. I have so many different updates and things to talk about. I've been spending a lot of like time, quiet time, right? No television, no mainstream news media for the most part, but just doing a lot of reading, meditation. I've been taking a lot of classes. I've been teaching classes, and doing some serious community organizing. So if my voice is a little bit hoarse or raspy, it's because I've literally been talking for the past month nonstop, but definitely on the phone, conference calls. There are a lot of ways in which our people are being taken advantage of during this crisis that I've been advocating for, and I'm going to get into that today. So hey, I see my people coming in and shouting me out, shouting out your city and state and everything else. Make sure you hit that like button too. Make sure you hit that like button. Hey, Shiny Valentina, that's such a beautiful name. All right, so listen, while y'all are coming in, I want to take a sip of my warm beverage. I'm not going to tell you which warm beverage it is. It's probably a warm beverage that I said I wasn't going to drink the last time I did a broadcast at a Namaskar holistic shop with our mama Muntu that y'all loved. I'm going to be back over there talking to her about some more tips and stuff that we could be doing, and dietary regimens, herbal supplements that we should be implementing into our bodies to make sure that we are preventing getting infected with coronavirus, COVID-19. But while I take a sip, I want you all to make sure you visit our shop at shopfnq.com. That's shopfnq.com. Somebody said, coffee, stop it, Jade. I'm telling it. Listen, she probably already want to see this. I already implicated myself. So yeah, make sure you go over to our shop, get you one of these mugs. I'm going to take a sip of my warm beverage because I am raspy, y'all. Okay, let's get to it. Y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so I want to know, what do y'all think? Do you all believe that the Black community is on life support? Like, are we figuratively and literally on life support right now? I'm seeing us being hit heavy and impacted so many ways by this crisis, this novel coronavirus COVID-19 thing. All right, so the first thing I do want to do, I see Larry says yes. I want us to take a moment. Let's just take a moment of silence for like 10 seconds or so for all of the people who have lost their lives, people who are fighting for their lives, families who are grieving. Let's give a moment of silence to, people who have been instrumental in our community, those who are named and unnamed, and let's give a moment of silence to all of those unclaimed, quote unquote, unclaimed Black bodies that are now being buried in mass graves due to this virus. All right, thank you. Right. So Joshua says, yes, it's mental, physical, and spiritual. We are taking some hits. Before we get into some of the articles and the data that I'm reading, I had to start off and just kind of get rid of the foolishness. So the foolishness is, I'm seeing disgusting TikTok videos that are coming from a lot of young people, especially, and also some grown people who clearly don't have any damn sense, who are, just doing egregiously anti-Black racist things, right? Why I prefer to date white girls over Black girls, or why I prefer, an Asian man over a Black man, etc., etc. And we're seeing this foolishness with young people. I'm not on TikTok, but, people have sent me a couple clips or have reposted things that I've seen within the past couple weeks. So that level of I could say cooning, but I'm going to say cultural dislocation or self-hate is egregious, and that needs to stop. Then it was also brought to my attention that people are, or someone was giving fellatio or, oral sex to a man on TikTok. We saw that simulated months ago with a certain celebrity that doesn't need any more attention. I'm not going to even call her name, but when she did it, I was like, okay, so that's predatory behavior, because a lot of children do frequent this site. And so now that we're seeing people are doing any and everything for attention online, and some of the most disgusting behaviors are showing themselves. And it's really, really sad. So culturally, I think that there's an opportunity for us to get it together. We need like a cultural studies revolution or repatriation. We need to instill some pride. We need rites of passage programs, not only for our young people, but we also need some type of rites of passage programs for grown people who clearly don't know how to conduct themselves. So I condemn that type of behavior. I also condemn, people soliciting sex for likes and views on the internet. What? Right? Like soliciting sex, come over, give me this, give me that. I guess people are trying to pay their bills, but I think that that's the unfortunate, position that many of us within our community, some people find themselves in, right? Because listen, the country is shut down, so clearly financially we have fallen on hard times. The world has fallen on hard times for real. The global economy is very, very iffy right now. You see what's happening across Europe, and you see what's happening in the United States of America. But at the same time, there is no amount of crisis or desperation or scarcity that should make anyone resort to those types of things. And listen, I know that there are a lot of quote unquote social justice warriors out there who are fighting for, a sexual revolution and, freeing men and women from being judged or stigmatized, or things being made illegal for sex workers. I will be the first one to tell you, I'm not about that life. So that's something that I would never condone. But what we're seeing now is prostitution happening and people soliciting sex, and the internet is a free space. So you have children on the internet. And this is an issue that I have with some of these adults out here who are acting a damn fool, is that they're not being held accountable to anyone within their families or communities, clearly, but they don't even allow themselves to be held accountable for the sake of the children. And that is really, really scary. That is disgusting. And that is why we have what we have. All right. So I wanted to put that out there and clear some of that energy up. And on that note, just talking about and thinking about those things is so disgusting. This is not a blunt, by the way. This is Palo Santo. Palo Santo is not a herb, but it's a piece of wood, actually. And it smells really, really good. It's kind of like sage. You can use it to do energy clearing. It smells really good. And also it gets germs. It gets germs out of the air. So it doesn't light like an incense does. You burn it really, really slowly, and then you blow it, and then the smoke and the embers, come up. But I'm doing this because, like I said, I've been being really, really mindful of my energy, what I'm taking in on a daily basis. In terms of content, I haven't been on social media that much. I don't watch mainstream news media anymore. I haven't for a few weeks now. But the things that I do hear and see when I am tuned in, it's like a constant process for me. We're like, okay, let me say what I got to say, or let me try to unsee what I just saw, right? So there's a lot of things happening that I'm seeing people engage in. And I'm not just going to say that only Black people are engaging in these things. I'm saying that as a society within this country, things are out of control. Things are out of control. In my opinion, these are disgusting topics, are a trick to mention. Yeah, it is kind of tricky to mention these things, but we gotta, I'm also a hardliner, so there's certain things that we need to make sure that we're communicating for, because there are young people who do watch these things, right? There are impressionable people who may see those sorts of things and not think that it's a big deal, but then when you contextualize it, and maybe people need to hear it. So I'm here to say the difficult thing that needs to be said, be it popular or unpopular. All right, so now that we have that out the way, our community is struggling right now. We have an education crisis happening. We know that certain school districts around the country have announced that schools will not be reopening. Schools will not be reopening this school year, right? Also, newly added to the list is New York. There's Virginia. There's like school districts all over the country, and parents are really, really struggling. To homeschool. And if you didn't catch our broadcast by my fellow fly Nubian Queen, no longer, you need to make sure you visit that Q&A that she did on homeschooling, because she has been homeschooling her children for years, and she has some really good tips and resources for homeschooling. People used to turn up their noses to homeschooling and think that it was a bunch of foolishness, but now we find ourselves as a community in a situation where people have no choice but to homeschool. The issues that I have with this situation is that within the Department of Education and school districts across the country, and y'all know I used to teach, or maybe you don't know, I used to teach, but I taught for about 11 school years. I did high school, I did English, special education, college readiness. I also did racial equity work within schools. I've done some adult education. I've worked as a consultant, looking at systems, coaching principals, coaching school administrators, leading racial equity teams, making sure you look at disciplinary policies, attendance policies, making sure you look at suspension rates, detention rates. Why are the, Black boys or Black girls more likely to be sent out of class, than other students? What supplemental education are they getting? What's the relationship between the teachers in the classroom, irrespective of their race, and the relationship with the students and the parents? What needs to be rectified? How can we do long-term strategic planning in order to set the children and the parents, the families, the community up for success? So I've done a lot of work within education. And so I do want to start off by talking about the crisis that's happening around education. We know that when COVID hit, a lot of school districts did not take this very, very seriously. All right. As a result, when schools were shut down, they were shut down altogether. Peace and Black power to my sister Darlene X. Thanks for coming in and moderating. All right. So, and Miss Lovelace says homeschool is so important for our Black children. Absolutely. So listen. Children were sent home at first, and it seemed like, people were kind of saying or thinking that this was only going to be a temporary thing. Well, schools are only going to be out for a couple weeks. Things will return back to normal. And a lot of school districts didn't make a decision not to open for the entire school year until like 6 weeks or maybe a month into the crisis. As the country, as the president, the Antichrist in the White House started to, I guess, appear to take this more seriously or whatever, or realize that this was actually an emergency, did school districts and governors start making decisions. But unfortunately, students were sent home. A lot of them, I'm gonna just talk about a lot of students in inner cities, Black students in inner cities, and also poor students of other races in inner cities that I also see as an educator, were sent home without a plan to learn for a couple weeks. Right. And then they said that, okay, they're going to do online learning. And then school districts then went into emergency mode to kind of try to train teachers to put a curriculum online, make sure that they got in touch with families to, let them know how to log in or whatever. Cable companies had to extend or offer like free Wi-Fi. And a conundrum that I'm finding is that a lot of homes, like Black children, don't have computers. A lot of them don't have computers or laptops. And so there has been a scramble to get technology to those students. And then also, you also have families that have more than one child in different grade levels in a household who all need to be online a certain amount of hours a day to learn in the classroom from their teachers. And I will tell you that, like, if anyone has ever taken an online class or even an online college course or online graduate course, it is not the same. If you're not an independent type of learner, if you're not super duper organized, if you don't really know your study habits, it is really difficult for an adult to learn on their own, especially if it's content that they've never learned before. Remember, as you go through the school year, each quarter, the information, the level of intensity of the academics, it increases. And so you're constantly being introduced to new concepts and then assessed on those new concepts. And so when I have tuned in to some of my friends, I talk to some of my friends and stuff, who do have children, or I'm seeing screenshots of like their classrooms, of like the children's classrooms. There are like a lot of children on Zoom in a classroom, and the teacher. So that's a bit difficult. I suspect, especially for younger children. I know that a lot of parents have that have preschoolers and early elementary school students. They do like websites like ABC Mouse, which is relatively affordable, and it's like games, but it really does teach your children content and math, reading and writing. That may be a resource. But wow, Ronnie says my child has 80 kids in class. That is please tell me what grade your child is in, because I need to know. And as y'all are typing in comments, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscription bell. We want to make sure that you're tuned into us over here at Fly Nubian Queen. Make sure you text the word Queens to 31996. Ronnie says 1, 3, okay, 4, first grade, third grade, fourth grade, 1, 3, 4, 7. So anyway, make sure you also go over to flynubianbusiness.com. That's flynubianbusiness.com. All right. So listen, education is a crisis right now. Education is a crisis. I talked about some of the systemic things in terms of resources, not enough technology. Now, what's happening on the back end with teachers is that a lot of teachers, believe it or not, have not already had systems in place in their classrooms that were online, that was online, friendly for online learning. Especially a lot of older teachers who are not very, very technology savvy, have had to and are still being trained to learn how to upload a piece of content, upload a quiz or whatever onto a classroom, how to log in. These are really, really basic things. And so I know a lot of our folks who are essential workers working in IT, especially within education, are getting a lot of business right now and are working overtime. Also, things like using PowerPoint, uploading that to class, making sure that you're monitoring children. I could only imagine what it must be like as a teacher when you're trying to get a lesson started and unfortunately, your children don't show up for class one day. How does that work? How does it work when, let's say, if you do have 30 kids in your classroom, or you're teaching a large class and you're trying to do roll call, you have children online right now, you can't stop and call their houses or nudge them to try to get online. And we already know with things like technology, the Wi-Fi is bound to go down at any time. Technology breaks or doesn't work, programs freeze, those sorts of things. So that is happening. A lot of teachers didn't have a lot of adequate supports or training. Thank you so much for your contribution, Silent Productions, showing you much love and support for the work you contribute to. Keep bringing the truth, Queen B1. Thank you. Black Power and B1 to you too. Oh, okay. So Ashley B says right now they're not holding you accountable if you don't log in. Wow. So that is happening. Again, teachers don't have a lot of supports. Or didn't get a lot of training in terms of how to do mandatory online teaching. And so what I said earlier about this is that I'm very disappointed that school districts and the Department of Education seemingly did not have any emergency education systems in place in case of a crisis, in case of an emergency. Thinking long term and thinking ahead, there could have been countless hours devoted to professional development and millions of dollars within training to mandate that online learning is embedded into your curriculum anyway, so that when if a crisis would happen, clearly we never imagined anything like COVID happening ever, right? But when you be ready, you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. Unfortunately, people are learning as they go along, and I'm afraid that children who are still in the public school systems are not getting their educational needs met. Now let's talk about the strain that this does put on parents. A lot of parents who are busy, who have been working, or they may not be technologically savvy, We have parents, and this is not exclusive to the Black community, because we have to be very, very careful about how we talk about education and trends and patterns that we find. I am in no way insinuating that the majority of Black parents don't care about their kids, because that's a racist idea. Don't value education, because that is a damn racist idea. I'm not going to sit here and say that an overwhelming majority or amount or percentage of Black parents are illiterate, don't know how to read or write or do math, and therefore they don't have the skills to help their children do homework. I'm not going to say that. Those are all racist ideas and philosophy, ideologies that show up in education that actually perpetuates racism towards our children and our parents and our families. And I'm a strong advocate against that, okay, against that. But what I will do is make a generalization and say that there are some parents in this country who may not have the skills, who may not have, I'm not even gonna say graduated from high school, because a lot of people graduate from high school, graduate from college. Hell, there's a lot of people that got master's degrees that I know that are not able to do physics or, you know, teach children this new math that they got going on in the third grade or whatever. So what I'm saying is, though, that there had not been a lot of supports for parents to prepare to teach their children if their children have been attending public schools, meaning that public schools traditionally have not provided educational resources to parents to kind of help them assist their children with homework at home on a larger scale. And that also puts the child at a disadvantage, and it also does not set the parent up for success, if you can hear what I'm saying. And so I can only imagine the stress of parents who have to homeschool, who are kind of like, well, shoot, I graduated from the 6th grade like 30 years ago. I don't know this stuff. I don't remember, you know what I'm saying? Or who can I call? Who can I talk to? I might need to learn how to do this. I may need to be tutored on writing this 5-paragraph or, 5-page essay with all of these requirements in it, because I didn't learn how to do it this way, for example. Or some parents just may not have the skills or etc. But what we do know is that what's not happening is like a massive movement to set parents up for success. I would say that the most successful parents and students right now, based off of my observations, are parents and families and co-ops that have already been homeschooling. And I want to shout out our Black homeschooling mothers and fathers for stepping up in our community virtually in a big way. I am seeing more and more Black parents sharing information and tips on how to homeschool, what's successful, what's been working for their children, and what hasn't, what tends not to work, and how to make it fun and relatable for the child. So I want to shout out those parents. And again, if you haven't checked out Nomalanga's question and answer on homeschooling Black children, I'm gonna need you to go over to our Fly Nubian Queen page right here on YouTube, and also you can find it on Facebook, Fly Nubian Queen on Facebook and YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed. Go find that, because there are a lot of tips and resources from a homeschooling expert like Nomalanga, who's also a Fly Nubian Queen. So you make sure you do that, and there could be some services and things that you all should be signing up for. Make sure you're subscribed to flynubianbusiness.com, flynubianbusiness.com too. Okay, I'm seeing so many wonderful comments. God bless you all. Oh, y'all are so sweet. Peace, Gerald. Okay, so listen. What am I holding? Oh, this is look, I have all types of stuff, y'all. Y'all see, I always wear my crystals. This is citrine, and this is rose quartz. It's like really, really good for calming energy. Connects to your heart chakra. And then I have like a whole bunch of other like stones and stuff. So I be playing around with stones and talking with stones. I talk with my hands. So yeah, that's what I be doing. But anyway, so we talked about education. A solution to that, make sure you just look up homeschooling videos. Try to get as many resources as possible. Check out the homeschooling series that Nomalanga is going to be putting out on Fly Nubian Queen. Get some tips, and also share what you know to children. And if you have older children in the house, a part of their education and homeschooling, especially if they're like high school, middle school age, is to help out their younger siblings with their homework. But let's be mindful of not overburdening them with that responsibility, only because they also have their own work to do. Okay, they also have their own work to do. All right, so we talked about education. Let's talk about, because the question today is, do you all think that the Black community is on life support? Is the Black community on life support? All right, we know we have an education crisis happening right now. We did a moment of silence for people who are fighting for their lives, people who have lost their lives, and you know, all of those named and unnamed people we don't know within our community who have been affected by COVID in one way or another. But there's a lot of information circulating about the death rate, the number of deaths, who's dying, and the diagnosis rate. Like, people are literally walking into the hospital. I saw a video of a sister who went into the hospital. She said she couldn't taste, and they were like, oh, you got COVID. Never administer her a test or anything. That video went viral. I'm sure you can find it online. Many of you have probably seen it. I'm hearing that there are numerous amounts of Black folk who are going into the hospital, getting, you know, they're having symptoms because, you know, this is, you know, allergy season, flu season just kind of ended. People get sick all the time. People go to the hospital and people are being diagnosed with COVID. I did see a video of a doctor on a mainstream news media television show. I believe he was on Fox, and he did say, he was white, he was saying that doctors get $13,000 for diagnosing a person with COVID, and then an additional $38,000 or $39,000, according to this doctor, for putting them on a respirator, which is to intubate them, to put them on a breathing machine. That is crazy. So it seems that like people are making, or the medical industry is able to make money off of this. If this is true, I have no reason not to believe that that is true. History is our greatest teacher, right? So we know that there is a such thing as genocide and medical apartheid. But, you know, this doctor, he went on, he was just kind of saying like, I mean, he's told to write COVID positive on death certificates when he's just like, well, I'm not even sure if the person has COVID, but that's what he was told to do. I have feelings and thoughts about that. Clearly, I'm interested to know what y'all think about that. But I do not all the way trust a lot of the coverage or the propaganda coming out about the Black demographic, just because I know that we don't have as many tests. We don't have, like, everyone's not being tested. People who show no symptoms, like myself, have not been tested. So we really don't know how many people have COVID or have had COVID or have been exposed to COVID. I know at least 5 people close to me, who had pneumonia back in October or November and felt like and Darlene says, neither do I, yeah. People who had pneumonia or were diagnosed with a lung infection or pneumonia back in October and November of 2019, and they felt like literally they could not breathe. They thought they were gonna die. I have a friend who had traveled out of the country and came back into the country and felt like she had like the worst flu, had, you know, issues breathing, ended up having a surgery that was already like planned after her trip, and ended up having to get like intubated during her surgery because they were saying that she couldn't breathe. So this is before COVID hit the United States per se, or that we knew about it happening in the United States. But I damn sure know a bunch of people who said last year they had the worst, most crucial flu that they ever experienced, that they don't even know like how they bounced back from it, and it wasn't like a normal flu. So we don't know how long this thing has been here. The reason why I don't trust all of the data and statistics that are coming out is because we just don't have all of the information. I am grateful for think tanks and for universities, for organizations who are actually keeping track of the Black infection rate, or the Black diagnosis rate, and the Black death rate related to COVID. And we also want to know how many of those people who have been labeled COVID positive actually were tested for COVID. How many people? And also, if you could, I would greatly appreciate, I would You asked a good question. Somebody asked a good question. I'm going to get to that question in just a minute. I want to know if you all know people who have been affected by COVID. Have you lost anyone? And if you have, I give you my deepest heartfelt condolences. Do you know people who have had it and have survived? In my case, I know, both people who have passed from it, and then also like friends and stuff who have had it and then bounced back. Yeah, that's right, M. Darden. We also do need to know about the recovery rate. We need to know about the recovery rate because we know that the recovery rate globally and like within this country is much higher than the death rate. But I will say something. If these numbers are correct, if these numbers are accurate, the death rate is too damned high. It's too damned high, especially in the Black community. Now, someone made a comment and it automatically held a comment for review, and I approved that comment. And someone was saying, people are saying that Black people are dying from COVID or catching COVID more because we're more obese than white people. And that person who made the comment, I'm sorry, I forgot your name, says that you don't actually know if that's true. I don't know if Black people are more obese than white folk. At this point, I have to question the source of every single statistic. And oftentimes, this is what we need to keep in mind. And I'm not a statistician. I don't even like math and stuff like that. I'm a bit competent in it, but I will tell you one thing. When people throw out statistics, they come from a study. And so there's so many factors in a study in terms of like the group sample, the population sample, the demographic, the control group, the non-control group, et cetera, et cetera. We need to do more investigating, ask more questions, and be more knowledgeable about where these statistics are actually coming from, how they came up with these numbers, and how they are analyzing the data behind the numbers and what conjectures they're making about those numbers. And so oftentimes we'll see a chart. It'll be like, Black people are 65% more likely to be obese than white people. And, white people are 15 times less likely to be obese than a Latino person. And then we take that as fact, especially when it's projected within mainstream media. So I think that we have to be really, really cognizant and more knowledgeable and have a more holistic approach about those statistics and where they come from. Okay. And also, who is funding the study and who controls the study also has a lot to do with the information that we do get. All of America is overweight, not just Black Americans, Radio 331 says. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So I want to know if you all know of anyone who has lost their lives. And you all can, make sure you put that in there if you want to. You don't have to name names if you want. I will be praying, for all of our folks. I'll be praying for all of our folks. I spend a lot of time in prayer, meditation. I did participated in a global meditation on Saturday, the 4th of April, and it was so powerful. It happened at like 10:44 p.m. and it was like really amazing. And so we do have the power internally and spiritually to shift the paradigm of this reality that we are living in. So we have to be mindful of that as well. All right, we have to be mindful of that as well. I'm seeing a lot of people in the comments also saying that you all do believe that our community is on life support. So far we talked about the education crisis and how it's affecting Black folk amid COVID-19. We just talked about these diagnosis and death rate like data in the Black community and the discourse there. All right, let's talk about this. I am seeing a lot of people go back and forth on social media about, and this is really sad, about whether it is Black people's fault that we are contracting and dying of coronavirus. So we literally have people who are at a time like this, going back and forth. And some people are saying Black people are responsible for catching COVID-19 because they eat pork and they don't exercise and they overweight and they be eating all of this meat. They be eating all this red meat and, drinking all this alcohol and X, Y, and Z. Then you have other people, on the other hand, who are saying that Black folk are responsible for catching COVID because they're not taking it seriously enough. What do they mean by that? They mean that Black folks are still congregating outside in large groups. They're saying that Black folks are still having parties. They're not honoring or abiding by stay-at-home orders. They're not honoring or abiding by social distancing guidelines. That people are still barbecuing, all types of stuff, right? Then you have people who are saying Black folks aren't taking it seriously because they don't have masks and they just be going out. They're not wearing gloves. They don't have masks. Oh my God, they're not taking it seriously. And this is why Black people always get sick, because y'all don't listen. Y'all hard-headed. My God. Okay. I will say that on a recent broadcast that I did do on Fly Nubian Queen, I did talk about my own observations of going out in my neighborhood, which is a predominantly Black neighborhood. I have seen a lot of our folks outside congregating, but I also do go online or have talked to people in other places, and there's been a lot of news coverage about white people not honoring social distancing, the Latinx community not honoring social distancing. So I'm not going to say that it's just Black people who are violating social distancing and violating stay-at-home orders, and that's why they're getting it more than everyone else. So I want to put this argument to rest in a particular way. We need to look at the factors behind why Black folks are more likely to turn up COVID positive and die from COVID-19, the novel coronavirus, probably more likely than any other group. This is not a new phenomenon in science or in the American racial hierarchy or social order. We know that they used to always say, when the white man sneezes or coughs, the Black man catches the flu. It is the same thing that is happening. Any epidemic or any health crisis or disease that comes out, really, it kind of like trickles down like after a while from other racial demographics, but when it hits the Black community, it is felt more severely in our community than other communities for a variety of reasons. One, let's talk about resources first. This idea that, Black folks aren't wearing masks, blah, 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 blah. You can't find no damn masks. I'm going to tell you that right now. You cannot, at first, you cannot find masks. One. Two, misinformation. People were going under my comments over the past couple months saying, you doing too much, you spreading fear, you paranoid, the government, those masks don't work, X, Y, and Z. And what happens 6 weeks to 2 months later, they're saying, oh, you need to wear a mask. But the difference between me and most people, I don't wait for the white man to tell me what to do. I don't turn on the television or listen to someone in Congress or listen to someone at the White House or listen to an anchor to say, this is what you should be doing. I have my good common sense. I do my own research. And then I have my spiritual sense. I have my gift of discernment. I make my decisions from a holistic point of view. So when I knew that this disease was coming over here and hitting people and how hard it was hitting people in China and other parts of the world, I'm like, oh hell nah. Because guess what? If a person is sick and they go into a hospital, the doctor is going to be masked up and gloved up. And in New York City, with the amount of work that I do and moving around I was doing, I'm like, okay, so I'm treating everybody like they got it. All right. And that mentality has never left me. And I spread that information onto other people. But either way, factors for implications within our community. A lot of our people watch too much TV. A lot of our people take too many marching orders from mainstream news media. And clearly you see all of the misinformation in the back and forth about this virus, the policies, how long it's taken policies to be enacted. And then also, all of that has contributed to this high infection rate. That's that, okay? And then the lack of resources. You can't find no damn masks right now. Then they were saying cloth masks don't work. You only need an N95. Now they're saying cover your face up with anything. We have more of our people, I'm glad to see, making and sewing their own masks. And shout out to my sister Vicky Dillard, because she has been making masks. She got some masks on sale too. So hit her up. All right. And make sure you check out her show on FlyNubianQueen.com, the network for melanated women like you. Before I continue, make sure you please hit that like button. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you are notified each time we go live right here at Fly Nubian Queen. Make sure you text the word Queens to 31996 and go over to our shop at shopfnq.com. Get you one of these at shopfnq.com. Okay, so lack of resources. You can't even find medical gloves, latex gloves, nothing like that in these stores. We clearly know what the stores are looking like. You can't even get toilet paper to wipe your behind. So how you gonna find a mask out there? So we need to do for ourselves. We need to make our own. All right. So lack of resources is a thing contributing to a high infection rate. We know that a lot of our people are afraid to wear masks because they are being profiled. They are being profiled. Now, I read an article, and you can go check out this article. This article is on Georgia. It's on the Grio. Georgia governor urged to suspend a Jim Crow era mask law. We literally have been traumatized over generations, which we're still owed for, right? Hashtag cut the check, our reparations. We need them. We need those tangibles. We need those tangibles 2020 right now. I had to plug that. For this very reason too, Georgia governor urged to suspend Jim Crow era mask law, meaning that up until this point, for the past like 100-some years, Black folk wearing masks would be criminalized. And so you could be lynched, you can be implicated for a crime or anything like with these sorts of Jim Crow laws. And a lot of these laws are still like on the books. And laws or no laws, a Black man knows, especially if he's like tall and like real strong, muscular and chocolate as ever. Woo, Lord have mercy, right? If he has a face covering on, he's automatically seen as a bandit, consciously by some, but definitely subconscious by many, or maybe even all. There are even like other Black folk that will see a brother coming down the street with a face mask on, or a sister coming down the street with a face mask on, or in an elevator, automatically on the defense because you think that they're a criminal. And so because of that, a lot of Black folks say, listen, I don't feel comfortable wearing a mask. And I have to be mindful of like when we're having these sorts of conversations, what my experience is as a Black person and what somebody else's experience may be, especially given where they are in this country. So if you live in a rural area, or if you live in some certain parts of the Midwest, if you live in like, damn, I don't know, Indiana or Iowa, Idaho, and you got a mask on, you Black, you might feel a type of way. You might feel like you're putting your life in danger by just even walking out the house like that. So that is actually real. You all can go over and check out that article at the Grio. All right. And so that's the whole thing about masks. People couldn't find that. I mean, right now it's hard to find the N95s. People may be afraid to wear them if they are available. People may have to make their own, and then like may not feel comfortable wearing them. Okay, but listen, all of these things that people see on the outside are making it seem like Black people are to blame for us contracting and dying for coronavirus. Like, why do we allow people to blame us as the victims, but then we have to ask ourselves, why do we blame ourselves as the victims? It's crazy. So we got to get rid of all of these internalized like hatred that we have for ourselves and each other. All right. So I talked about the mass profiling. Another reason why Black folk are more likely to get COVID-19 is because a lot of us work in jobs that are deemed essential, right? Essential workers. If you work for the post office, FedEx, a lot of those jobs go to Black folk. A lot of cashier jobs at grocery stores, fast food restaurants. I still don't know how Popeye's chicken and McDonald's and the liquor stores are like essential, but hey, you know, they're essential jobs right now. So those folks have to work, and you have to be mindful that if you are an essential employee, you are still dealing with the public in the midst of a coronavirus, and you have to go to work. For the most part, you have to go to work, or you lose your livelihood. And these are the same folks that people were getting pissed off and fighting against a $15 minimum wage for folks who are in essential employee, who are essential employees. But our Black essential workers are on the front line, exposing themselves day in and day out and keeping the society going. So if you are an essential worker, my hat goes off to you. I'll be praying for you. And let's have some care and consideration for our essential workers, okay? Essential workers are also folks within the medical field, nurse practitioners, people who work in hospitals. And not all hospital staff are doctors or nurses or specialists. You also have social workers that work in the hospital. That's an essential worker. You have Sanitation workers, right? People who clean up in the hospital. You have sanitation workers outside. Like, garbage still has to get picked up. Certain things in society are still going on. Black people are working in those jobs, right? So they are on the front line and really are able to be exposed to the virus a lot more. And they don't have the luxury to stay home and rest and homeschool their children, or, you know, cook a whole bunch of things that's going to build up their immune system to fight COVID, X, Y, and Z. But we have to keep that into consideration too. A lot of our Black workers are essential employees. So those are some of the factors that we have that are contributing to the high death rates. Those are some of the social factors. Now, we know that according to statistics, our diabetes rate, heart disease, high cholesterol, a lot of other illness rates are really, really high in our community. Why is that? I believe that it has a lot to do with epigenetics, you know, the generational trauma and things that have been experienced with our parents, our grandparents, our ancestors has been passed down, and trauma does live in your DNA, which makes, you know, things like psychotherapy and exercise and healing, holistic healing, extremely important so that we could really change the trajectory of our DNA. That's why I read this book. And rest in power to our new ancestor, Dr. Layla Africa. All right, this book is African Holistic Health. This is like my health Bible right here. But if one of the mods can type in Dr. Layla Africa, African Holistic Health. Everybody needs this book. Everybody needs this book. But we know that, you know, again, like we said, like when the white man sneezes, the Black man catches the flu. There's so many factors that go into that. So many pre-existing conditions. Okay, that's medically. And then also socially, living and surviving under a system of racism and white supremacy day in and day out is a trauma unto itself. And whether people want to believe it or not, it has an impact not only on your mental health and wellness, or your emotional health and wellness, or your spiritual health and wellness. Trauma lives in the body, and it forms as dis-ease in the body, okay? So all of those factors, racism and everything added into that, those are reasons why we're seeing us being hit really, really hard. And geographically, the majority of the Black population lives in major cities where, you know, it's easy. I mean, the outbreak is just exploding. So let's look at all of those factors instead of going back and forth with other Black folk about blaming Black folk about why we're contracting and getting COVID-19. At the end of the day, the blaming and the shaming is not going to liberate anyone. The blaming and the shaming is not going to save lives, but solutions save lives. So if you could, you know, share some information about what we can be eating or doing to prevent coronavirus from happening in the first place, or if someone is getting sick, what they should be doing, like best practice that's been working for me in my household is a bunch of vitamin C in our fruits. Definitely a dietary supplement of vitamin C. I'm an outside type person. I like fishing, hiking, walking, camping, laying out in the grass, all of that stuff, going to the beach like every week. Can't do that right now, although it's getting warm. Vitamin D. Taking a vitamin D or vitamin D3 supplement, taking iron, and making sure that you're eating as many green vegetables and raw foods as possible can help. It really can help. Putting garlic and ginger and turmeric and everything can help. Or just drinking the tea, elderberry tea, it definitely helps. Sea moss, like those types of things. So there are different dietary practices and things that we can incorporate into our diet so we don't have to be like under so much fear, and that is far more productive and forwarding than going back and forth with somebody food shaming them about what they eat and what they shouldn't eat and what you eat and what you don't eat. And again, I'm a vegan, so I don't eat none of that stuff. I don't drink milk or nothing. Oat milk, or almond milk. I try to lay off the soy milk and stuff like that, but I'm not here to like police other people into what they can eat. we need to be able to meet people where they are and not traumatize and re-traumatize our folks by just simply blaming and shaming them. And I was doing a meditation. I think it was yesterday. I was like on one of Ayanna Van Zant's daily viral messages. She gives these messages out every day, and she's been very consistent. Every day that this virus is taking place, she comes on at 10 a.m. in the morning on her Facebook page and is later downloaded onto YouTube, and she gives a message for the day. And a particular message that she gave, I think it was yesterday or the day before, is about judgment. When we are judging other people, we're ultimately judging ourselves. When we judge other people, we're ultimately judging ourselves. Am I going to sit here and say that I don't judge people? Absolutely not. I just spent like the first 5 or 10 minutes talking about why people giving fellatio, you know what I'm saying, on the internet, or selling their bodies, you know, to get their rent paid, or for sex, to pay their bills, and, you know, doing all of this in the presence of children. I'm clearly judging, right? But that's something I'm worth judging for, and being judged for me having that judgment. I really don't care. Like, that's a non-negotiable. But if I were to go through my life and base the way base my life and everything that I do, and project that onto the way other people should live their lives, and do everything I do exactly as I do in the way that I think, then that's more so about me trying to be controlling. That would be more so about me being insecure with myself. That would be more so about me being overly self-righteous, X, Y, and Z. And listen, there is a difference from having standards and values and principles, and being really, really grounded in that, versus being overly judgmental, controlling, and projecting onto other people. It's also a fine line. But what I'm saying in this situation is that we don't need to be going back and forth as Black people blaming Black folk for having COVID-19. Stop. Just stop it. Yes, thank you. The alkaline water says repair of breach. All stress-related diseases, drink alkaline water. Absolutely. I got like gallons of alkaline water over there. And you can also make your alkaline water too. Put some cilantro in it or some lime. Boil it. So those are the things that I had. I do want to talk about something that I've been working on, because I did say that I would let y'all know. We need to pray for our Black medical professionals working in hospitals, nurses. Oh, sorry, my husband literally just called me in the middle of this broadcast. In the mental health care industry, and I think y'all are still there. So yeah, our black workers are definitely being exposed to COVID on a daily basis. But also the issue is that they are not given the right PPE. PPE is personal protective equipment. They are not given masks. There's been a shortage of masks. There's been a shortage of gloves. You know, the government is trying to mass produce them. They say states are mass producing them. I get text messages from the government of New York, and it is really, really sad that they're trying to scramble to get some masks and stuff made and donated to help people in hospitals, for example. But there have been situations where masks and stuff are actually available in some of these facilities, and supervisors are not giving it to some of the staff or the workers. How do I know? Because I have receipts. How do I know? It's because I interview and talk to dozens, a countless number of Black mental health care workers in DC at a particular forensic hospital that goes by the name of St. Elizabeth's Hospital in Southeast Washington, DC, where the Black staff is experiencing a major, severe outbreak of COVID-19. And we know that there are masks, boxes of masks, N95 masks in that damn place that Black workers are not allowed to get. What am I talking about? What do you mean, Jade? What are you talking about? How do you listen? Let me tell you. So far, there have been about 58 people in that facility, Black people, staff, and also patients, staff and patients who have contracted COVID-19. I was on a radio show last week. I was on and shout out to Black Empowerment Radio. I was on Black Empowerment Radio with my client last week, and we were talking about this very, very same issue. And one of the people who actually works at that hospital called into our radio show from his ICU bed, and talked about how he most likely contracted the virus from one of the patients or one of the clients who are at the forensic hospital. He talked about how when COVID-19 first broke out, the administrators didn't properly educate them on what COVID-19 with the coronavirus is, that they should be wearing gloves, that they should be wearing masks. Then there were no masks, mysteriously. Mind you, this is a hospital. Then there were no masks at all. And then the masks start being delivered and coming in, and you have supervisors wearing the mask, and you have supervisors giving them out to everybody but Black people. Yeah, so that's how I've been spending my time, doing information and getting some research. Then I talked to people at other medical facilities, Black people at other medical facilities who work in, like, you know, like there's a culinary or kitchen staff. There's, you know, people who are in charge of cleaning, all aspects, all departments. These people don't have, oh, thank you so much, Jai Thompson, for your contribution. I really, really, really do appreciate it. Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I tell you no lies. I tell you no lies. This is what's happening to Black medical workers. I spoke to a Black medical worker last week who mentioned that certain physicians are working with patients day to day who are infected, but they're unable to get their hands on masks because other staff members who work in the hospital have been taking them and hoarding them. So this tends to be a problem. And so what we're getting, I know what a lot of people were getting on the media is that, like, there's no mask. If you call around to your local hospital, if you know any nurses or people, like, there may be masks available in some of these spaces, but guess who'll be the last people to get them? Oftentimes us. Another thing that is happening with some of our essential workers, I'm just talking about the mental health care field because that's what I know about right now with this particular thing that I've been working on, is that, okay, the Department of Labor enacted a COVID-19 coronavirus family leave of absence protection, like leave of absence act, right? And so it says that if you are a person with pre-existing conditions and or over the age of 60, your job is mandated. They should be giving you a modified schedule and allowing you to work from home. So they should probably change your job description so you're not exposed to people who are infected. If you are an essential worker, if you have pre-existing conditions like asthma, like, you know, anything that could complicate your status, your health, compromise your health rather, then they have to accommodate that. There are people working at these facilities, at this particular facility in Southeast DC, St. Elizabeth's Hospital, right, who have pre-existing conditions, are over the age of 60, and they're still being forced to come to work under the threat of losing their job or having to use their personal leave. And these are also some people who are in quarantine, Black folk who are in quarantine. Like, I went to the doctor, are in quarantine, have been exposed to somebody else, went to the doctor, got a doctor's note. You know what I'm saying? So all of these things are happening. And then also there are some supervisors who are bullying Black folk to show them their personal medical records. All of this violates HIPAA laws. All of this stuff is illegal. So keep an eye out on it. Check on your folks. Let's check out on our check in on our Black medical workers, because there's a lot of things happening. I know that the question that I raised today is the Black community on life support? Is the Black community on life support? I would say, if I had to answer that question, we know that there's a lot of bad things, foolishness happening. We continue to be disproportionately affected in one way or another by this crisis. But I think that this is also an opportunity for us to do a reset. I give thanks for life every single day. And, you know, for what we do have, and our folks who are here. I give thanks for all of the people who are recovering. Thank you so much, Robert, for your generous donation. We really do appreciate it at Fly Nubian Queen. I'm gonna say that I don't know. I'm a fighter and I'm a revolutionary, so it's really, really hard for me to have that mindset that I would just, take a disempowered mindset and say that we're on life support as a community. New businesses are being formed. People are writing books. People are connecting with their children. Families are being united. We're coming together. We're being more communal. We're seeing the value in doing for self. Thank you, Darlene. We're seeing the value of doing for self. We are shifting our mindsets. People are starting new businesses. All of these things are happening. So a shift is happening. Our people are getting serious about their health and wellness. People are getting serious about their health and wellness. So I'm not going to give up on our folk. I'm not going to say that our community is on life support, but I will say that we are in a crisis right now in a lot of different ways. Things that we cannot control or that we do not immediately control, like all of the systemic things. So we need to be working to adamantly change and fight against those things. But there's some things that we can stop. There's some things that we can't stop, and there's some things that we can't control, like not having Twerk Fest on freaking Instagram live, or you know what I'm saying, not going back and forth with each other about blaming Black folk for the condition that we're in without providing any solutions or actually helping anybody out. So I'm going to take that stance, and I am going to continue doing the work. We can easily use this time to be distracted. You know what I'm saying? This is a high intensity emotional time. People are grieving. People are afraid. A lot of people don't have a relationship with their family members, so that's hard. You know what I'm saying? Some people are out of work, unemployed, don't know when they're going to get back in, don't know when they're going to get a stimulus check. Some people don't know, can't even file for unemployment or whatever, can't get a response when you call the unemployed. There's so many different things that are happening, right? There's so many different things that are happening, but we have to stay focused. We have to stay positive. We have to stay focused and stay positive, and we have to educate ourselves and really tap in on a higher energetic level, and distance ourselves from foolishness and the BS. Because I'm gonna tell you this, I saw a quote the other day, and it says something like, crisis don't build character, crisis reveals character. Thank you so much, Victor. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for your generous donation. Yeah, crisis does not build character. Crisis does not create character. Crisis reveals your true character. So you need to figure out, I'm talking to y'all, but I'm also talking to myself right now. Figure out who you're going to be, how you're going to show up. Who you going to be? Who do you want to be right now in the midst of all of this craziness that's happening in the world? What type of person do you want to be? And just focus on that and do the best you can. So I'm about to hop out of here, but I do want to offer that we collectively be very, very conscious of how we're spending our time, who we're spending our time with, the information or propaganda that we're allowing to seep into our space, what we're putting into our bodies. And again, clearly, I didn't already told myself I'm not perfect. I sure do have my coffee, my organic Ethiopian coffee, and I got my oat milk in there and some brown sugar, some cane sugar in there. But so I'm not perfect at all, but let's be mindful of what we are doing to heal ourselves, what we're putting into our bodies, what we're feeding our mind, bodies, and spirits with. Meditate, find some quiet time, pray, be kind, be generous, be helpful, be solution oriented. Do not feed into the low vibration energy. Just don't do it. You have to balance everything out. You have to balance everything out with positivity, right? If you can, take some time to cook. Experiment with juicing, some juicing recipes. You can find those recipes online. If you haven't tried sea moss, which is really great for your immune system, if you can get your hands on some, definitely order some, or order some sea moss products. And there's plenty of online workshops that are free, online events that are free. I know Essence Magazine did something where they had like a lot of different like experts, like doctors, a yoga person, this kind of thing, online. Y'all are on YouTube, right? You're subscribed to Fly Nubian Queen. So we will continue to bring you some good content. Also, use the internet to work out in your house, do yoga or Pilates, learn something different, pick up a new skill, take an online course, do what you need to do to feed your mind, body, and spirit, and let's rise above the crisis. Let's rise above the crisis. All right, and with that, I'm going to thank you so much for tuning into flynubianqueen.com today. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you share this post. Make sure you visit our shop at shopfnq.com. Get you a mug. We have t-shirts, hoodies. We got a cute backpack over there. We have a lot of great stuff. We have a lot of great course content and programs you can sign up for at flynubianbusiness.com. That's flynubianbusiness.com. Also go over to flynubianmoney.com. And there's something in the Black Millionaires, Black Millionaires of Tomorrow program. So there's a whole youth program over in the Black Business School that we can be taking advantage of and helping our children build some businesses. Okay, so I love you all so much. Thanks for tuning in and rocking with me. I will be here broadcasting on YouTube on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at lunchtime. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at lunchtime. So anywhere between 12 and 1 or 12 or 1:30, I will be online consistently. I'll be online consistently at lunchtime. So make sure you are following us over here. Make sure you go over to our Facebook page and hit us up at Fly Nubian Queen. Darlene X, thank you so much for moderating today. I love you all so very much. This broadcast is ending, but so is global racism and white supremacy. We will trample this beast. We will defeat this beast through fortitude, preparedness, and collectivism. And always remember that they stole us, they sold us, so they owe us. Until next time, family, peace and Black power.